Welcome back to First Look Asia. According to the United Nations, 1 in 6 people in the Asia-Pacific region has some form of disability, and this translates to around 650 million people. And yet, people with disabilities continue to be hidden or excluded from mainstream society.
So how do people with disabilities feel about this? And more importantly, how can more workplaces, schools and communities enable inclusion? Victoria Ong finds out in this report for us.
27-year-old Timothy Ng is passionate about the English language and humanities. So much so that he's turned this passion into a job, tutoring students aged 14 and up in these subjects. The accounting and finance graduate specializes in teaching young people with learning needs, ranging from attention deficit disorder to autism and dyslexia. He says he's able to relate to their challenges as Timothy himself has autism.
I feel they have a lot of learning streams that our current education system may not be that understanding towards them, which is a pity because they can contribute to the classroom as well. Many of my students are very logical people who really take things literally to the point, which is the strength that I hope to hone and enhance. Well, there is a barrier for them to, for me included, to try to understand the world, and it reflects on our lack of interest in humanities and English.
Can I just understand as well, what led you to become a tuition teacher?
I face challenges and discrimination doing other jobs, and I do not find that I can pass through the interview stages, as I may have some quirks. I may not look at others eye to eye, as I find that there's too much information in between the eyes. I feel that eyes are the windows to the soul, and it is kind of painful for me to feel the thrill, the fear in others, especially my future employers' eyes, when even before they know that I have autism.
A recent study conducted by the National Council of Social Service, or NCSS, in Singapore found there was a gap in public understanding of being inclusive towards people with disabilities. Responses ranged from being tolerant towards, accepting of, or helping them when needed. But the NCSS says being inclusive is about more than that. It's about including people with disabilities in our communities, workplaces, and schools.
I felt so isolated. I do have a few friends, thankfully, in mainstream schools, but it's kind of hard to relate to them because I feel that I cannot totally adopt their ways of life, of their beings. As an autistic, I feel I'm alone and I'm so isolated unknowingly. It was kind of sad.
Timothy feels there's generally more awareness about autism now compared to his days in school, but there are still misconceptions about persons with disabilities. That's something the Disabled People's Association, or DPA, hopes to overcome through dialogue.
The Disabled People's Association of Singapore runs an Inclusion Ambassadors program where they train members with disabilities to engage with the public. For example, Timothy here, he holds talks to explain what it's like to go through everyday life with sensory challenges. These talks and other kinds of inclusive activities helps to foster a deeper sense of understanding towards the reality and experience of persons with disabilities.
Tertiary student Roy Tan is a volunteer with the DPA. He says this has helped him to better understand persons with disabilities and enabled him to forge new friendships.
before you started volunteering with the Disabled People's Association, you were rather nervous about interacting with persons with disabilities.
Yes.
Can you tell me more about that?
So I was afraid, like the things I say or the things I do might be inappropriate and might offend them or hurt them in any way. So yeah, but throughout the interactive sessions and disability awareness trainings, I have learned, like, enhance my knowledge towards this topic.
Another study conducted by the NCSS in 2015 found that persons with less visible conditions like autism and intellectual disabilities are viewed less favorably compared to those with physical and sensory impairment. This finding reflects Christina Padilio's experience in working with persons with intellectual disabilities.
What would you say tends to hold people back from interacting with persons with disabilities?
Sometimes if they think that, should I come and approach this person? Are they going to hurt me? Maybe they will feel that way if they see, because some will have different movements. You can see like wiggling their hands and like that. But actually they are not, because some characteristic of like autistic, they have some repetitive behaviors. So you can see them doing this. So it's important for public awareness, to raise awareness about the people that we support. And so we want to bring change to the community. We started this gardening, which is an open concept. That means there is no fence. We want to break that barrier. We wanted the public to know that this garden is for everyone. And when it happens to be that a public pass by, we initiate the interactions, and then our clients, the people that we support, will also started to interact with the public. And so because of this project, it's like we are open to more possibilities that our clients will not only have friends within our center, but outside the community.
One for me,
Everyone is important part and plays a part in the community, so we should value everyone. We look into the totality of the person rather than looking only into the disability.
It will take all of us to see new possibilities bloom in a society that values a spectrum of talent. And when more schools, workplaces and communities choose to do so, it looks like there's a ready pool of candidates.
We are really looking forward to serve our society with our aspirations and our dreams like any other young person in Singapore.
What a great story there by Victoria. Time for a short break on First Look Asia. Lots of world news coming up. Plus, Vanda Electrics is the maker of the world's first fully electric hyper